I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. Given to love, given to love, given to love, given to love, and love will give you all, give you all. We entered into tonight on a stream of light, sounds and colors everywhere. And I was lifted up by an angel's hand, feather soft and golden hair. And her voice was soft as the wind, soft as the wind that gathered all around. I shall live. Walk tonight on a stream of light, sounds and colors everywhere. And I was lifted up by an angel's hand, feather soft and golden hair. And her voice was soft as the wind, soft as the wind that gathered all around. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. Given to love, given to love, given to love, given to love, and love will give you all, give you all. We entered into the crystal core, columns rising to the sky. And I was wearing violet, she was wearing purest white. She was queen of all the realms, and I was a king, and the heavens were our crown. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. Given to love. Give to love, and love will give you all. Give you all. And I can feel your presence here inside of me, inside of me. And everywhere I go, I hear your soft voice calling to me. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to me. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. I love to walk along these mountain paths, find a way to reach the sea. I remember how you used to laugh as we go running, dancing in the breeze. What was it ever made me leave? I can see you standing by the ocean shore, looking deep beneath the waves. All the world was passing at your feet, and its reflection was captured in your face. For just a moment of your grace, and you could always be found entertaining angels that had fallen to the ground. But what is lost will come around again in time. I swear I shall be found. You wear your wisdom in a simple way. It's never given just for show. If I hadn't seen the price you paid, I would never even know the life that follows when you go. And I'll follow that light again. I'm like a sheriff on the beach, and you're the way. inside of me. Carry me home, for I'm tired of this life alone. You always call me when I've given all my love away. I find your ocean in its place. By loving you, I find your grace. I love to sail upon these journeys, take my guidance from the clouds. I will sail forever until I reach your horizon, and I'll listen for your sound. For I loved you then, and I love you now. I loved you then, and I love you now. Gather round to my true loves, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song, love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. True love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Gather round to my true love, it's so nice to be with you. We're singing a new song and love is bringing it through you. Love is bringing it through you. Love is bringing it through you. Lately all my realizations seem to fade, and I wonder if I'll ever understand. And I try a conversation, but the words only bring me back again. So I lie awake at night, sleeping. Never comes to those who read in vain. Then I'll finally close my eyes, weeping. Never seems to take away the pain. I hear an angel calling, standing at my gate. I see his door closed and I hope it's not too late. I've come a long way round. Please don't let me be tonight. And I know that when I find you, I'm gonna be alright. I used to have a flaming passion for the world and all the wondrous things I'd never owned. But now it's just a dying passion. Yes, I love you, but I know you're not my home. So I wander in the park, waiting just to find a reason to be here. Then I'll stumble in the dark, I'm escaping all the love that I have learned to fear. But I hear an angel calling, standing at my gate. I see his soul burning, and I hope it's not too late. I've come a long way round. Please don't let me be tonight. And I know that when I find you, I'm gonna be alright. If you see me walking down the road, please forgive me if I do not stay. My feet are pointed at where I will go, and I got a feeling today just might be my lucky day. 'Cause I hear an angel calling, standing at my gate. I see his smiling eyes, and I know it's not too late. I've come a long way round. Please don't let me be tonight. And I know that when I find you, I'm gonna be alright. Tell the people that I used to know that I'm changing for the better. Know I look just like a crazy fool, but there comes that one time in your life. You gotta do what you know is right. So I'm gonna take that midnight train, and I'm gonna ride it right on home to you. So open up those heavenly gates. You know I just can't wait. Even if I'm losing faith, well, I'm going. And if you hear that whistle blowing, tell them that I'm rolling right on through. Tonight on a stream of light, sounds and colors everywhere. And I was lifted up by an angel's hand, feathers soft and golden hair. And her voice was soft as the wind, soft as the wind that gathered all around. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to me. I shall give you love. I shall lift you Giving to love, giving to love, giving to love. entered into the crystal core, columns rising to the sky. And I was wearing violet, and she was wearing purest white. She was queen of all the realms, and I was a king, and the heavens were our crown. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to me. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. Giving you love, giving you love, giving you love, giving you love, and love will give you all. Give you all. And I can feel your presence here inside of me. Inside of me. And everywhere I go, I hear your soft voice calling to me. I shall lift you up. I shall lift you up. And I shall give you love for all you give to me. I shall give you love. I shall lift you up. Once upon a time in a half-remembered dream, found myself in a lovely enlightening sea. On a hill on the highest part of town, all the people were gathering all around, holding hands, singing songs. And in the middle of the beautiful throng there was a man. He held up his hand, and in the hush he said, I am the light, I've come to give you what I am the light, I've come to give you of myself. You are the light, we've come together just to share it. We're the light, we're the light, oh we're the light. What a beautiful light, what a beautiful light. Then I was lifted up into the highest five. You know that I had been passed before my life.
Welcome, everyone. Please take your seats so we can get started at this wonderful event. I want to welcome everyone here on behalf of the Northern California MSIA community. This is a time that we love for getting together with each other and with the extended community, the people that come from other places. And this actually is the first time that I know of that one of our events has been online. So we have a wider community involved, and I want to welcome all those people online as well as everybody in the room. And I wondered if there's anyone here who has never been at an MSIA event before. Great. Well, a special welcome to you. You probably know, but MSIA means the movement of spiritual inner awareness. So it's about spirit, and it's about awareness inside, and a way to transcend, soul transcendence, transcend the limited experience of the world while living fully in the world and being really fully ourselves. So when we have events like this, it's our tradition to call in the light in the beginning. And that's bring in the light of God, ask for God's assistance, for us to be aware of his presence and the blessings. So when we do that, there's a prayer, and then we chant Ani Hu. Hu is an ancient name of God, and Ani means empathy. So it's God and other people, loving God and loving other people. So I'd like to ask Eric Babinet to call in the light for us.
So settle yourself into a relaxed state. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And we ask at this time for the light of the Christ, the light of the Holy Spirit to be present with us, to fill, surround, and protect us. And we ask for a clearing of anything that does not serve us at this time. We're so grateful for the blessings that are present here and present in our lives, and we give thanks, and we ask that thy will be done. So be it.
Thank you. And my husband just pointed out that it might be nice if I introduced myself. So you can't read my name tag. I'm Layla Millar, and I'm really delighted to be able to be the MC for this event. And we have a treat now. We have Taras Lumiere singing a song for us.
Good evening. Hi, this song's gone through a lot of changes. It was a soft love song at one point, but tonight I'm just going to belt it out. It's like a cheer song for me to keep me walking. It's a walking song. It's called Golden Fire, and You came walking down the hill, then the evening sun going down, and I started to look away out into the forest deep. But somewhere in my heart I had the courage to speak and tell you I still had a promise to keep. That night I couldn't breathe, and I prayed for the release. Spirit took and shook me for all that I was worth. Yeah, you saw the power in me that burned all but the truth. I swore I'd follow to the end of this earth. I can never doubt it. Love is what it's all about. In the air I breathe into me, in the blood that's pulsing through me. Oh, this desire, last desire, walking into your golden fire. To the end of this earth, I just wanna let it be just like it is. Like you're walking down that hill or sitting here in this room, and opening my life to all this light and sound, and bringing it through this little tune. I can never doubt it. Love's what it's all about. In the air I breathe into me, in the blood that's pulsing through me. Oh, this desire, last desire, walking into your golden fire. Oh, this desire, walking into your golden fire. Thank you.
That was a treat, all right. So, thank you. And I want to remind everybody to turn off cell phones, anything that would make noise for the rest of the time here. And I'd like to introduce Phil Danza, who's going to talk about some study materials.
Hi. Holding in my hand here the new iPad and iPad Mini with John Roger on it. You can see John Roger. There's John Roger. So what's been happening is the last few years we've been working on remastering the John Roger catalog. And what's been happening with that is a whole bunch of work and a whole bunch of videos and a whole bunch of audios. What that came to was for the iPad, we remastered over 32 years of SATs. So now on the pad, on your pod, on your iPhone, whatever you want, you can get all the SATs. You can get currently 18 videos, 212 moments apiece, 43 meditations, 6 interphasings, and all the MSIA music. And I'm not going to show you all of that because that would take, maybe a few months to do. But the thing is this, we think the iPad's kind of cool and kind of sexy and all that, but you don't need an iPad. Basically, you can get it on a thumb drive. I was talking to someone earlier, and they said, well, can I buy that? And I went, oh, yeah, I left that part out. So the media, if you were to buy all the media, it would cost you about $4,000. You can get the packets for $1,000 on the thumb drives. The cheapest way, the thumb drive's $80. If you want us to load an iPad, iPod, iPhone for you, we will do that. And of course, you have to pay for the pod or the pad, of course. But we will do all that for you. So what I brought was some video of a couple of users, iPad, iPod users, who really like what they have. And I thought that spoke the best than me up here going blah, blah, blah. Also, before we go, last night was a really amazing event. We were sharing about our experiences of sort of the first time we sort of connected with the Traveler and with John Roger. And I just wanted to mention I grew up across the bay here in Berkeley and around Berkeley, and so it's great for me to come back here. John Roger used to, just a few blocks down here is the Wharf Hotel, and JR used to get the penthouse suite, which sounds so cool. It was like the second or third floor, and it was a couple of rooms, okay? But it was cool hanging there with JR, and that's where I got my my causal, and that was with JR, and I just wrote Betsy, and my mental may happen next month, you never know. That was 19 a long time ago when we did that. So anyway, thank you for listening. You may have watched when you came in here, there were some photos of JR and different patterns and stuff. That's coming right off of the iPad, which has sort of a slideshow option to watch all the photos. There's 330 JR photos on there. You can watch them one at a time, or you can watch like a slideshow. So that was on there, and what's going to happen next is Richard's going to play some. We're going to lower the lights. If you have any questions, you want to hold these iPads, play with them. I'll be in the back. We can talk about it. I love talking about it and don't want to go on way too long about it, but I can. I've only spent, a good chunk of my life. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say about JR. So I flew down from Berkeley to hear JR, and this is out in the valley in Encino. This is, I don't know, say 1973 or 4. I had a job, so I had to fly back that night to get to my job the following day. So I raised my hand and I say, can anybody give me a ride home? And JR goes, I can. When seminar's over. And I went, well, I get to ride with John Roger. That's pretty cool. So we get in the old black limo, if you guys were around long enough to remember the old black limo, and we drive back to he just bought Mandeville, and we went back to his Mandeville house. He goes, hey, do you want to see the house? And I said, yeah, sure. So we go in the house, and he takes me downstairs to his junk room, meaning it was a very large room. It's not quite as wide as this, but almost, and at least as long, and it's just filled with stuff because they had just moved in. And I'm really literally, and my mind's going, why is this dude showing me his junk room? I mean, what's the deal here? And so the last sort of 36 years, I'd been working in that room, working on JR audio and videos. So with John Roger, there always seems to be a purpose, you know what I'm talking about? So anyway, we're going to drop the lights and play this for you, and I'm going to move this microphone, yes? What else am I going to do? Lens cap. Oh, take off, oh, right on. Thank you. Thank you.
About 4 o'clock every morning, I just put on my earphones and I put it on shuffle. And from like 4 to 8 in the morning, I am just riding on all these different waves of JR over the years. And I mean, it is one of the favorite times of my day with that iPod. And I just feel like I'm in all the wealth of my life having this thumb drive. It's on my computer. I've got it on my iPod. I don't have the iPad yet, but I don't need it because I have the iPod. And because on the iPod also I can go to the moments of peace, and it's more than enough of a visual. And the moments of peace are incredible. Just for me to watch Jesus, my man for eternity over and over again, I never get tired of it. And I don't know, if you just want to immerse yourself in John Rogers' teachings. I cannot say enough about getting the thumb drive, getting the iPod, putting in your computer, so that it's just always with you in some form that you can reference. It's the best.
I love hearing Phil Danza talk about how, 6,000 or so seminars that we have access to. And I really wasn't listening to them on my tapes and CDs. And now that I have them where I can pull it right over the ones that I want, right over onto my iPhone or my iPod, or I have it on my computer where I just open the laptop on my bed when I go to sleep. Just sometimes I turn on the slideshow and watch JR's pictures go by. And that puts me to sleep into a place where I can dream about him. He was with me, and it was really beautiful. And then picking up one of the older seminars and just finding the spots that I love, and then being able to kick over to another one. I have all these meditations in a row on my iPhone so that I can turn it on and actually hear all of them all night long, where they go from one to the next, or just one repeatedly. It's a gift to your soul.
We have to come awake that we were born the Lord. Isn't that kind of a strong statement? I mean, you look at it and you go, that's ridiculous. I can't do that. Well, maybe we're wrong. I don't think you can have a Lord that you could relate to unless that Lord had done everything that you can and have done, unless He has done it all. All. Just think, if you were praying to the Lord and you were an alcoholic and He never had tasted anything, didn't know anything about alcohol, you might think, well, how do you really understand how I feel? How do you really understand that I smoke 30 packs of cigarettes a day? How do you really understand that I'm hooked on heroin? How do you really understand all this? How do you relate to me, and how do I relate to you? What is the means by which we do that? Jesus Christ was born in a manger, signifying wherever we find ourselves, that's when we birth. Right now, wherever you are, inside of you, you can start rebirthing, re-Christing. And there must be innocence. And to have innocence, there must be naivety. And to have that, there must be forgetfulness. And to have forgetfulness, you must have done forgiveness. And so we enter into Christ action, which is forgiving. And we forget. And we enter into the awareness of newness and innocence. And once again, Christ is born among us. And even through sadness and upsetness and other thoughts and straying away from what we're talking about here, and still coming back, you still did it, and you still did it. But if you did it and you don't keep doing it, it won't count that you did it. Do you understand that? It only counts that you keep doing it. Each day, when you get out of your manger, fluff up the hay. Now we come along, we say, let's just chant God's name until the vibration opens the door for you. And then be able to go through. But you can't go through if you're facing away from it. So you have to at least make some effort to go into it. It's not a thought. In other words, the procedure is you sit down, you close your eyes, or maybe you stand up, but you close your eyes. Or if you're good at it, you can turn and revert your attention inwardly, and all this world white out. It just goes white out like you're blind. And then you go back inside, and you come to the place where there is a frequency, and you come into that frequency, and it goes, and you're right into the Garden of Eden. And you start traveling from that point. And it happens either a lot longer than but rarely does it happen like I said. I've never been able to say anything like it is. But when people get there, they say, it was close enough. I got the idea. I'm trying to get you close enough. Because once we find that area and we realize the gold of God's consciousness is our wealth and our support and our lifeline and the supply of all things, and that we're in it, we feel so fantastically wonderful with that we want everyone to have it. Because there is plenty, there is abundance from God, but not necessarily in this world. You can't have it all in this world, but in the inner worlds, you are it all. But you can do something with the God inside of you. We call it spiritual exercises. We try to take you back in. Some people want to go so fast, they go right in and out the other side. They don't know that the kingdom of heaven is a vibration rate, not a location.
Well, this is not only the Christmas season, but it's Hanukkah. And now we get to have Rona light a candle and give a blessing for Hanukkah. This is Rona Foster.
Hi, everybody. So this is the first night of Hanukkah, and I'm going to read a little bit about Hanukkah for those of you who don't know what it's about. The other name for Hanukkah is called the Festival of Lights, and I love that this time of the year when we're coming into the physical darkness, the shortest day of the year, that we have all this light around us. Well, we have this light around us because our traveler is here with us, and all of you have so much light, but also just the physical lighting of the candles. So tonight is the first night of Hanukkah, and it's traditional that you light the candles at sundown. So we're going to do it a little bit earlier, since we're here earlier. And Hanukkah commemorates the rededication of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem during the 2nd century BCE. And this was during the time of the Maccabean Revolt. And Hanukkah is observed for 8 days and nights. And it can fall any time between late November to late December. That's goes by the Jewish calendar, which my understanding is that it's a lunar calendar as opposed to a solar calendar. And we light one candle each night, and we have a head candle called a shamus, and that lights the other candles. And the miracle of Hanukkah is that in the olden days it was an oil-burning lantern, and it was supposed to only last for 1 day and 1 night, and it lasted for 8. So that's part of the miracle of Hanukkah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light the candles over there and then come back and say the blessing, because I can't do it logistically at the same time. So before I sing it, a lot of Jewish blessings start with Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, and that is, blessed art thou, O Lord our God. And the thing that I find just really, I don't know, it's very sacred in that in Judaism there really isn't any word for God, because you can't really describe God. So I don't know how they came up with Adonai and Eloheinu, but anyway, I'll sing the blessing. So, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Thank you, and God bless you all.
I think there's some kind of resetting of the stage that needs to take place right now. And while that's going on, just make sure you've turned off your cell phones and just get ready for the next treat that we have. All right, that was efficient. That was good. And it was fun, too. I have the honor now of introducing a person who is one of our mystical travelers and the spiritual director of MSIA. And the thing that is so amazing to me about John Morton is that he is both so human and has such transcendent wisdom. I actually have little notes from sharings that I've had, things that John has said that encouraged me when things were difficult, inspired me, that I kept in my pocket, kept in a drawer. And I think part of the power of the wisdom that comes forth from John is that he's also so down to earth, so human. He shares that he has challenges too. He knows what it's like, and he keeps going no matter what. For me, he's a model of endurance, of being there, of committing and just being here for us in just over and over and over again. So it's with great gratitude and thanks of all sorts that I introduce John, welcome him to the stage.
I'm taking I'm going to chase her down. I'm talking. Here, let me help you from the stage. I'm going to help you off the stage, unless you're planning to stay on, and then you're just welcome.
We can dance.
Yeah. Let's see. There's probably a good place. Here, I'll toss this to Michael just in case. Good catch. All right. I'm going to see where we can put this into our 4. So let's see here. How's that? Yeah? Okay. All right. Anybody consider yourself new to MSIA? This is your first event. Welcome, welcome. So we have open opportunities to come in as you are. So if you're just in here to get out of the weather, or there's somebody that was attractive to you and you followed them into the room, anything like that. So it happens. So we welcome you. We welcome you however you got here. And there is something else going on. Maybe I missed it in the information, but we have people live, and I like to confirm that. Are we active and live and on the internet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we are. We have about 170 people online.
Okay. And that plays out wherever the internet is available. So even on Mars, Pluto. What is that planet you were mentioning to me in the horoscope the other day? Chiron. Chiron. So welcome to you, those of you on Chiron. We'd appreciate hearing about the quality of the transmission and maybe something about how we're doing on planet Earth, from your point of view. Maybe you're wondering what these books are. This is the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, because every once in a while I need to look up what I'm saying, or I think I'm saying, or something like that. There's a book here, You Are the Blessings, by John Morton. Let's see what else it says. Meditations and Reflections on Life, God, and Us. Are any of these books available if somebody wanted to buy them? No one knows. Okay. I think through MSIA for sure. So we have, I'm sure, an inventory of many, 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 many resources. John Rogers got 50 and more books that are out, and I heard somebody mention 6,000. I think that was Denise Seminars. And this is a Thompson Study Bible, King James Version. So every once in a while we do open up the good book and see what it says. And so I did, and so then I was drawn to, this is St. Luke, chapter 8, verse 39. Return to thine own house and show how great things God hath done unto thee. Well, I would say that's a very clear statement of the movement of spiritual inner awareness, that our purpose is soul transcendence, returning to the house, and in some way witnessing how great God is in all of the forms. So welcome to that. Welcome to whatever you came here for. I encourage you to consider that you're in the light. You're in the love of God, that we call upon it as much as we can. So when we do the invocation, we go for all of God, not just part of God. And you'll hear us say often, the highest good of all concerned, and that's code. It means we don't want to be hurt, we don't want to be involved in things that would disturb, that are unnecessary for what our purpose is. So it's a way of invoking protection. And if you take something from this, take that you bear the light, that you are a light bearer, and all souls bear the light. Or it's like it goes with that consciousness of the soul. It's the consciousness of God that we can behold and witness and work. So we work it. So I look at what we're doing here as very practical. It has lots of dimensions in what that means. It means we work where we are. And then let me do a little inventory. Let's see. Any of you involved in the works, particularly of John Roger? You met John Roger, or you started being involved in his teachings in the 1960s? Anybody? So look around. There's a few. So that would be 42 plus years ago. And actually we're in let's see, what is that? Auspicious. We're in an auspicious moment. I looked that word up last night, so you need to put it in sentences if you're going to learn these things. We're in an auspicious occasion, as during this time period, during December 3rd to 23rd, 1963, John Roger underwent a change of consciousness, a transformation, That's about as far as I would go right now to try to describe, well, what happened. But it was a change. It was a very tremendous change. It led to his sharing his experiences, which he continues to do. So that's 49 years ago and counting that occurred, and it began this movement. So there is a continuance of that. John Rogers very much with us, meaning he's here. And as we come to know what that is, it becomes very personal as you're open to it. It's something that is not about a personality, although we can't help it. John Roger has an adorable personality, and I think that helps. I'm glad that it works out that way. And even if I'm hypnotized, so that I don't know, who this really is, I don't care at this point, because it's magnificent. It's a magnificent transformation in my life. It led to this. When I was a child, I at some point I went to, I think they were, speech classes or something like that. Basically, my teachers, my parents were concerned about the way I talked, so I think that was something like a speech impediment. And so here I am, I make my living in some way speaking. Maybe I still carry a substantial speech impediment, but I look at it as a blessing. I look at it as something that allows me to overcome and demonstrate my ordinariness. And it's something that John Roger pointed out to all of us, that ordinariness is a condition just prior to God. So when we're getting close, when we're the closest, we are very aware of our ordinariness, our humanness, or our chironness, if that's how we would say it, depending on where you're from. One of the things that I have become aware of is that we have a way of losing what's personal and embracing what's impersonal. And that I would consider that God demonstrates what's impersonal. And I'm reminded of a scripture, I don't know where in the good book it would be found, but God is no respecter of the person. Maybe I'm pretty close in terms of the translation and how accurate that might be, but I look at that as a way of saying, don't get caught up in your personal level. That's more or less the least of it. And yet, all of us, I'm sure, are aware of times when our personal level is very intense. Are you too cold? Is that what that means? Okay. How many would say you're too cold at this point? How many too warm? So we check it out. So there are some in the room that are too. How many just right? You're the baby bears. Okay. Do you know the Goldilocks story? It was all about too much this way, too much that way, just right. And I think it's a story of what happens to us all. We move into the just right balance in our life. But in any case, I'm willing to do something about that, because that's a way of demonstrating that we're practical, we're responsive. So if we're too cold, maybe that's not really what's necessary. But regardless, I would encourage you to come here and be here for what is most valuable for you. So let's do something about that right now, that in your awareness, in this moment, in God's presence, that we are inviting and allowing to come here, that there are two or more of us gathered in that name, that vibration that brings it forward, that thou art with us, that you would be conscious of what is your prayer. It might be in a form of a statement, so that You could say, I love you, God. It could be in the form of a question of, do you love me? Could I be more conscious of your love, your light, your wisdom? Could I be more aware of how I can use all the circumstances in my life? Whatever is current, whatever is present, especially in any way that concerns you negatively. So that might be a worry, a fear, something that you feel unfair or is not to your liking. So it can be personal in that way. I just don't like it. Anybody ever have those kinds of feelings? I think I'm supposed to like it, but when I'm being honest with myself, I don't like it. And I think it's important to pay attention to these things so that we are a witness unto our own experience, including the things that we're not comfortable with, so that we're with a God that embraces us completely. So in this embracing, I invite you to be aware of the love that's with you, no matter how tired you are. I can see that tired. I've done that flight. It's a long one. We have somebody with us. Just come in from Paris, did you? Yeah, okay. Arrived in the last few minutes into this room. That God is our nurturing, our restoration. Whatever you need, consider your need. And that's something that's very important to look at, like what you need. So being practical would be your breath, that you need a heart that can circulate what comes from that breath. So we do that. And I'm doing it for myself, so you understand that I am with you. And I do consider that there's a reality of where we are. So for whatever reason, I'm talking to you, whatever form you are in Chiron. So even if you're in Chiron, that you would understand that we all have this opportunity to witness and realize that our Creator is in our midst, not in some far distant, far away place, but with us. And with us in a form that we might consider formless, because that's how it appears. And it appears invisible and silent, but it still bears witness to itself. And we have a responsibility to step into that opportunity to become more aware of our Creator's presence. And so that's what we take on in the movement of spiritual inner awareness in a very powerful way, that this is a responsibility that all souls carry, to wake up. So this is a wake-up movement. And sometimes it's reveille. So you may hear a trumpet, or maybe it's a bugle, calling to you to stand at attention, stand present in your life, to witness that you are upright, that you are ready for action, ready for whatever order is coming for you, and that we are in a place here to step in the order of God, that we're a member in full with all of the rights therein and thereof, however that might read legally. That we have an inheritance and we claim it in full. Sometimes I think people question, by what authority would you claim in full the presence of God, the right to God? And to me, that's something that I see as directed to God, that if you want to know by what authority, then speak to God, that it's God's authority as the love of the creation. So we're in this love. It's also something that that we consider as a Christ movement. And, that to me is often something where people start dividing up because some of the terms that we use, create division just by the terminology, that if we look up terms, well, let's do it. Because that often is how this works as well. So let's see what happens when we look up CHRIST, and would Merriam-Webster have it in here? We'll find out. Because sometimes words of a certain type aren't allowed. I mean, if they're profane or of a nature that's not recognized, then it's fun to see if my eyesight is fully engaged. It's still working at whatever font we have here. So what I find is that it's spelled with a capital C, CHIRST. It appears to have a derivative with Latin, which is Christus, with a US on the end. Greek Christos. Then literally anointed. And that's where I find we look at it. That it's not a title that we're referring to. Or, I suppose we could say it's an office, and it is, meaning there is an authority in the office. It's a position assigned by God. That's how I look at it. And that we're partaking in that consciousness that it is anointed directly of God, however that has taken place. And you're going to find, if you delve into our teachings, the information that John Roger has brought forward in particular. But let me say this, that long ago he related these teachings as not new, as something even ancient doesn't describe. But in some ways you would find it historically. You would find it in many, many cultures, languages, however we do that. But there's another aspect to what this is that is living. And so we have a living spirit, we have a living presence, we have a living God that is revealing. So anointed is part of what is the definition. And then it says Jesus, especially as the Messiah. So again, if you're raised in a certain tradition, or even if you're aware of the Jewish tradition, that can be something that you say, well, I don't accept that, or I don't believe that, or those are fighting words. And, our point of view is have a look. Have a look to what it is past points of view, past opinions, that there's a direct experience that everybody can have. And that is, to me, one of the keys of what we're doing together, as we're moving into a direct experience that everybody has, your own responsibility to come into that direct experience. So one of the keys that we all decide, and to me it is a decision made every day. It's not something you can just do, well, I already made that decision, leave me alone. It's like, no, do you this day open yourself to the truth of who you are? Do you have the willingness to witness as your life shows it and reveals it to you? And the truth that is now, that is here, in this moment. Do you have the willingness to change, to adjust, to accept, to move into cooperation? However that comes about. And it's like, well, what if this guy, Jesus, and we could put in lots of names in terms of those who have come forward at various points in this world to demonstrate and reveal and witness to who are we as souls. Who are we as children of God? But what happens when they pass, when they in some form are no longer here? Well, my reasonableness, my practical reality says someone else comes forward to pick up the gauntlet, to pick up the torch, to pick up whatever it is, to pick up what is being demonstrated continually. Not that we have some outer need. So if you're looking for somebody that you can depend on, it's not here. But where is it? It's inside. So what we all can depend on is inside as a direct consciousness of God, that we do our best to direct into. So the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven, what we really need is inside. The worship is within. And again, these are not words that John Roger invented or would be, the source that would be attributed to the quote. Where's the worship? Within. Oh, that's John Roger. Well, that is something that John Roger has stated on numerous occasions in my life. And that I am stating the worship is within, so that's where we go. So our practice is something that we do inside. Anybody doing spiritual exercise right now, and you can get your hand up? Okay, because sometimes that's not so easy when you're within. But there were several hands up, and when I do these questions, there's an opportunity, if you're watching, even at a later time, why would I put my hand up if he's not even there right now? Why would I answer to that? Because you're answering for yourself and you're answering to the living God, that these are questions that in some way move us and wake us up in our relationship to God. And that's where we go. So if you want to know what our primary practice is, it is to be conscious within, be conscious where our source is alive and bearing truth, revealing truth, showering us, anointing us in a truth. So this work continues, and I'm involved in picking up what's mine to pick up. But I also like to tell people, so I'm telling all of you, that that's the same invitation to you, that you have the consciousness within you that we refer to as the mystical traveler. And we're coming on a year, I think the Queen had a Jubilee year, and we're having a version of a Jubilee year of some kind. So this coming July, this church is going to celebrate the mystical traveler and the mystical traveler in our midst. There's a moment of peace, and it's in Nigeria, and it's with John Morton, with MSIA people in Nigeria, and I hope one or two of you or more are online at the moment, because I know that occurs on occasion. But it's an amazing moment where I'm surrounded by people singing the mystical traveler by my side. And, I hope you have a moment, if you haven't, to just take that in as a way that we worship, that it's something not only by our side, but that we're all partaking inside. This is how the consciousness works. So it just, in verbal terms, went quiet. Not exactly silent, because it's buzzing. So right now, you could do something else on a practical level. If you have a question, like who's going to win the World Series next year, congratulations, San Francisco. Yeah, there's a Giants fan in here. It's still substantial. So that's part of my ordinariness. Okay, I see your hand. But I encourage all of you to consider what your quest is, what your intention is, your interest, and to consider that we have a consciousness here that will address it directly. Not necessarily in the form of what you would expect or want, but in the form that would answer, would serve you. In my experience, often it's not by information. It's by direct experience. It's by something that appears. So it can be something you see in your mind. It could be all the senses can be awake. So taste, smell, hear, touch, all the senses are involved. So that you have a living relationship. And I do consider that's what we offer here, that we come by the authority of God and that anointing, so that it comes into the flesh, that was established. So it was established in the Christ, in what I consider was referred to as the Messiah, in that consciousness, that in that spiritual authority, then we can be shown, we can be assisted, we can be supported. So call upon it. And when you are willing, so it works by your willingness, by your choice to invite, that this is a consciousness that does not work in infliction. It's not allowed. So it's respecting everyone in your personal creatorship. So if you invite it, it comes forth in a greater closeness, a greater intimacy. And when we do the teachings, particularly when you sign on towards initiation, and by being here, it's available. What does that mean? It means that the gift of the traveler to show you, to usher you, not make you, not do it for you, but to reveal what is the way, is here. So when you read the discourse information, which goes on in the current form for 12 years once a month, that you're at the foot of the Master. You're there. I was listening to some people at my table last night that were sharing about their experience with the mystical traveler consciousness and describing, that moment of having contact, and often the contact comes in an inner way, so that first realization is inside before the outer contact. And that's a truth. That's a very important truth. And even for those of you who might think, well, that wasn't what happened for me, I'd say reconsider. That before you had the contact with the physical level of the traveler, through the body, through the name, through something you heard from an initiate who carries that consciousness because you're awake to it, so then you also come into the way and you become someone who is revealing the way as you know it. So then we start joining in with this consciousness, and that we are invited to come forward to do what this is, and even greater. That we're in that movement that's established as a kingdom that we're going into. So I'm inviting you to open yourself up now and consider that the traveler is with you to address your concern, what you want. Can that be materially? Go ahead. Ask for a good parking space. It's like, well, would I dare do such a thing? Is that too... Well, it might be on a small level when you consider the keys the traveler has available to you, so that if you ask to see God, that opportunity is with the traveler as you can handle it, as you choose back, that it is not something that is done in the fullness of what it is in this world, that it is something that requires us to move where that is, in consciousness and in the inner realms. Okay, we did a wonderful job of opening ourselves up to the mystical traveler consciousness, and I do say so myself. And do you still have a question over here? Okay, I'm going to bring you, well, actually, Phil's going to bring you a microphone. And by the way, Phil, I got my second aura bounce in the Wharf Hotel in that, what did you call it, penthouse suite? Penthouse suite. Because they, it's still there. Yeah, and they did it because even though people were coming in, because they didn't have to ask me any questions and I didn't have to talk, so I actually had it on the couch while people were coming and going, and that was an interesting experience. Please.
My name is Lisa, and I guess my question is asking if you have any assistance to help me either work through or lift this process of grief. And I know I'm not the only one, but it's taken me into bad habits and.
Okay. Can you see that your grief is tied to a sense of loss? Okay, and then it's a sense of loss in the world. Okay. So then I'm just inviting everybody to look. So then you can be aware of it. And then if you have any grief, then we can all look. And so whatever grief is in the room or on Chiron. Do they have grief in Chiron? Whatever that grief is, that it's about attachment. And sometimes I think we want to apologize for attachment. Like, well, if I was really enlightened and aware and smart and mature, I wouldn't be attached. And, I just consider that that's kind of nonsense because it's part of the ordinariness. And, in a sense that if you really care on this level, that caring does get attached. And it's part of our fully participating, having a full life includes in this world attachment, so that something can hurt and bother us, and that if we're not feeling that's a serious issue. When people don't feel things, when they're numb, when they have no inspiration, there's no caring, whatever, that's when you need to take a real look, because that's next to dead. You're not dead, but in a way you're this thing called the walking dead, or, let the dead bury the dead. It's like you're in that group. Like, wake up. So in that wake up, then it's like, well, I care, I hurt, I'm disappointed, I feel a loss, I feel betrayed. These are some of the feelings that would help us know we're relating in grief, but we're really relating to attachment. So part of it is that you have the arms of God with you, and in that is an embrace. So I'm embracing myself right now. And then, you mean I have to put my arms around? Well, why not? Children do it. That these are things where, and to feel the caring that touching brings. That's one of the blessings, is to touch and be touched. It's contact, it's relationship, it's aliveness. And so just that, and sometimes there's nothing more to do in the moment. To let yourself be touched by somebody, especially if there's a part of you saying, I don't want to be touched or leave me alone. Your wisdom is going to help you see, it's okay. Let yourself be touched anyway, because there's a healing there. There's a clearing there. There's a lifting there that in some way that caring can transfer and often pick up. Like somebody saying, give it to me, let it go. I've got it. These are real words. It's like, well, I don't want you to have it, that is like, well, why not? If we can share this, which is also one of the blessings. So come into the sharing, come into the caring that touching does, and give it a moment, give it some incubation. That don't put a time clock on it. Like, well, if it works, it'll work in 10 seconds, or it won't work. Or maybe this is 22-second healing, or whatever it takes. But do things where you're touching, and that's one of the ways to know you're starting to heal, is that you're willing to touch things. Something. So if people are sitting in a chair, staring at the floor, paralyzed in grief, or it's often, well, let's get up and move. And moving is one of the cures, including for what's illness, because it often is generating an energy that's going to move what that is from a stuckness, from an attachment, so that it releases. So sometimes it's good to go for a walk, but maybe go for a walk arm in arm, or hand in hand. Or do you hear that bird? That's another form of touching, to let what the sounds are that nurture come to you. It can be sights, sounds, images, just things that help. If you have things in your environment that are disturbing, you might want to ask, why do I have that? I mean, if there's a photo there that just makes you mad or depresses you, what's it there? Well, it's been in our family for 400 years. Like, well, I think maybe it's time to move that out. That they're not here, get over it. These are practical things that you can do, like clear out an environment. Something that's been talked about as ectoplasmic aura. I'm not going to try to do that today, so stick around. If you're new, maybe you just say, can I find out about ectoplasmic aura? Yeah, okay. But the idea is that there's energies, and those energies are mingling. And so that can be positive energies, uplifting energies, and it can also be energies that aren't really serving. And often what we need to do is eliminate, clear, clean. That's one of the things we do when we invoke the light, when we chant the vibration, the sound, is we're bringing in clean water, clean air. We're bringing in a new spirit, a new day. I'm being born again. In this spirit, I'm being born again. So to do these things. There's also a practical part here of enduring, that's one of the ways that this level measures us. In our devotion, in our dedication, where there's a devotion, dedication to yourself, but which self? Don't stop until you're dealing in the true self. It's like, well, I don't know what that is. Then get busy finding out. Self-awareness, self-exploration, so that you're learning what's important to you at your deepest level. And keep going until you find that joy is important to you, love is important to you, peace is important to you, caring is important to you, doing good is important to you. These are the qualities of our true nature, of the God nature. There's a place in the book, and I think this one's in 1 John, I don't have the verse, but God is love, and she that dwells in love dwells in God and God in her. Pretty close to that. And, this is an important quality to realize you have inside, that past that grief, the truth is love needs to come forth. And maybe, you're in a winter, so there's a thaw that's taking place. And winter often is something we would relate to as a death, as a grieving, as a loss. And that there is an appropriate period when we allow that to go through, that it's an ending, it's a completion. And then when somebody passes, and it can be something, some people get upset because they lost their comb, but it doesn't matter if that's what you really care about, it's still a loss. And you may carry that for a long time. So in some way be aware of, what is it about? And then be aware of the value. And that we don't know the value of something until it's gone. Well, it's important to know the value why it's here. And then to see, what are you making important in your life? Are you making the things that really have value? And it's okay to come into an appreciation of somebody that moves you deeply. That you just realize, I just cared so much I didn't know until now, and in a way I don't have the opportunity to communicate that directly. That's okay. Everyone is inside. We do something called the sanctuary. So if it's about someone, and by the way, you can invite things into your sanctuary, or pets, or your favorite flower, or it was my comb. Can I get my comb back into the sanctuary? It's like, invite your comb back into the sanctuary. And it's a place of reunion. It's a place of blessing. And then all things that come into this place come in through a love form, come in through a good form. So if it's your enemy, they don't get to do what enemies do in the world. They come in as your friend. They come in blessed of God, in that blessing. Are you kidding? I'm not going to go to Christmas with Ebenezer Scrooge. He's a different man now. He's been blessed in the Christ. And this is Christ's day. And he's inviting you to dinner. So if you want that Christ blessing, you better show up and release yourself from your past. At least you invite the ghosts of Christmas past. It's a day to rejoice. And every day is this day. We don't need a time of the year or a day of the month to have these moments where we lift up. So in one way, allow your grieving to complete, as a passing, as a releasing, as a letting go. And in another way, come to a new day where whatever that is a burden, as something that you would carry as an unnecessary negative form, a loss, a regret, a disappointment, a hurt, a resentment, that these things need to be released so that your consciousness is born anew. And one of the signs that we're picking up on what the Spirit has prepared for us is we come into our joy more quickly. And we sustain that joy, that peace, that friendship, the ability to see the good in someone or something. So if it's something that happened to you, look for the good. Look for the divine. And I'm now quoting something from John Roger, referred to as the secret of soul transcendence. Look only for the good, for the divine in people and things, and all the rest leave to God. Anything else?
No, just tremendous gratitude and love. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, we'll come up here. If you wouldn't mind. Are you okay standing up? Okay. By the way, I wanted to let you know that I looked up for San Francisco what time sundown was today, and it was 4:51. So when we did the lighting, we were, I think, is it appropriate to light after sundown? Is that when you want to do it, or is it like at the moment?
Well, it can be flexible.
It can be flexible. Okay. Well. So I just want to let you know you were covered because it was actually after sundown.
When I'm inwardly asking God, Lord, what's your will for me in terms of my eyesight, physical eyesight? I'm not getting that I'm supposed to go blind, but it looks like it started happening, so I'm open to whatever is available to me.
That's important, that openness. It's always important to carry openness and then consider you're in the Creator's seat. And that can be, what do you mean by that? Well, that's called the throne. And what do you mean by that? It's like, what do you want?
Oh, I want sight, and I love beauty.
Okay.
I love God, and I see God around.
All right. And I know this might sound like a setup, and maybe it is, but I'm going to plead innocence on this, that I'm getting this from inwardly. Seek first the kingdom of heaven. Then all things are added unto you. And so when you have this moment with the throne, the power, the creatorship of God, and then in a way God is saying, my child, what would you want? And maybe if in the form of what Jesus demonstrated, my friend, you're my friend now. We stand eye to eye. What would you want? What would you have? Be careful what you ask for. Am I saying eyesight, some lesser thing? No, I'm not saying that at all. But when we look to what's more valuable, we see what's in the heavens, in the Spirit, is more valuable, and seek that first. Be willing to go to that first. To me, this is Jesus' moment in Gethsemane. Like, what I'm looking at, Lord, or Father, can I have an alternative?
Yeah.
Is there another plan here? Is there plan B? Because this looks like something that I would not choose for myself. And these, I'm being reminded, thank you, by the child who's crying for a moment, that these things are not necessarily pleasant, convenient, comfortable, so they can be downright painful, uncomfortable, but for what? For a short time when we understand who we are spiritually. And so this is where your patience, your trust in God is tested at moments like this. And it may seem like, well, that's easy for you to say. Your eyesight isn't going, oh, yeah?
No, I don't think you have an easy life.
But it's relative, and God bless everybody. The point of what we're doing here is not to measure, well, who has the most karma? Let's line them up, and then extol that person who has the most difficulty or the greatest challenge. So what am I saying? I'm saying give first the kingdom. Well, is that it? Could I ask, for my comb? Can I get my comb back? Yeah, why not? why not do that? To me, God's willing to attend to the least one of them, to the child, that not one is left out, for whatever they want. So if it's on something very simple, that would God go looking for that comb and in some way deliver it? My experience is absolutely. So then, how would we order that? Again, it'd be ordering it as best you can inside of you. What would I give as most important? If I'm asking and you're answering. So to set that in motion, and if you've done that, you say, I've done that, now I'm on this level, and I'm looking at my eyesight, and I'm a caretaker here in this body. You set me as a caretaker in this body, and my eyesight's having difficulty, and I want to retain it. Or, heck, if I'm going for this, can I have better eyesight than I've ever had in my life? See, we'll ask for that. And let me just say something about what's going on in our midst. I think this may be something everybody says, well, I already know that, but it's like with technology and development that we're bringing forward, the human genome and being able to replicate cells and eyeballs and sheep and like that ability, then how close are we to being able to do these things? That we're really, in a way, close. But let's just say if we're still warring and fighting and fussing and disturbing the Eden that's in our midst, and not really acting as the caretakers that we are, that we've somehow stepped away from what we need to do, then what's up? So the way we order this, and I'm saying this for new people, because I'm sure those who've been around, we have a responsibility to take care of ourselves first, so that you do have a responsibility to do something about your eyesight. So I'm appreciating that, and then at the same time, that you have a responsibility to open it up to what the greater responsibility is.
I frankly don't know what else I can do at this point.
Well, I think you've assigned yourself something that you might want to consider God didn't assign to you. That's to retain your eyesight. But let's just open it up. Let's consider that nobody has a responsibility to be immortal in this world.
Well, I'm willing, Lord, if you want me, I'm willing to go. That's not the problem.
Okay, so then what comes from that is we're going to have some scrapes, we're going to have some bruises, we're going to have some missing this, missing that, losing that, gaining this. You see what I'm saying? That there's things going on that we're not controlling. I think that's a curse to think that we control this level. And so what do? We step aside from attempting to control, and then we do the best we can with what we're working with. That's a key. So then I would say open it up so that if the answer comes in some form, maybe it's some experiment going on somewhere where they're taking candidates and it's like, would you be willing to have your eyes replaced so you can have better eyesight than you've ever had? You might say, well, what's the risk? Well, you would have no eyesight because if it doesn't go quite right, we don't line up all the nerves and da-da-da-da-da-da. And after all, this is an experiment. So these things are going on. Do you know what I'm talking about? There are people that sign away all their life and their grandchildren's lives at the same time, and so that nobody can sue anybody. But then you still can, because that's how lawyers stay prosperous. They create new ways to complicate it. I think I just went on and did an opinion, but I'm human. I'm subject to points of view. But I know some very fine, beautiful, magnificent lawyers. Let me say that. In any case, I'm not here to fill in the blanks for you, but I understand what you're seeking. Because if I was in your position, I know I'd be seeking it. because I love eyesight. And so I love to have it, such as it is. So I'd encourage you, but also maybe to open it up so that if God is moving in a mysterious way, that you have the openness to be moved mysteriously. And it doesn't necessarily fit what the mind determines is logical or reasonable at times. That in order to get into the miraculous, and let's consider that's what you're asking for, to change the karma. What does that mean? That in some way we come by these things honestly, including, what do you mean? If you're born into the level, you get the karma that runs with the level in the way that it runs here. But that also is a sign of, is you're a powerful creator. Because this is the level of strong souls, bright souls. That's where you are. That can take it. And that this is a level that has a lot of tests, tremendous tests. Whatever you can take. And often, one of the ways grace is witness is that it just takes somebody out. What do I mean by that? It's like, that's enough pain and suffering. God took them. And there are usually witnesses around going, you're right, the Lord has them now. They're resting in peace. They're in the Lord's arm. And there's truth being spoken. So let us just say that whatever this is, if it progresses in what you would call, or any of us would call, a negative form, that it gets worse according to vision standards, that doesn't mean you're not the most blessed person in the room. That it's not about your eyesight. It's about the love of God and your awareness of that and your celebration in your life of that love. Anything else? Das Vidanya?
Not yet. One sec. I'll phrase one question. It's around the same, but I will kind of phrase the question still. How do I just open myself to the miracle? And I'm not insisting.
Well, I think it's very similar to how best you enter the kingdom, and it's been spoken of as enter as a child would enter. And I find that's full of innocence, purity, the playful nature of the child, the gullible nature of a child, so that your faith in God is an absolute faith. That I hope by now either you know it in yourself, that when you were a child you had this amazing faith, this amazing trust that was just like as solid can be. And that you have a good God. And so whatever form this is taking, and whatever is being asked of you in a waiting, in a patience, go here, now go here, now go here, now go here. That there are things that work like that in this world. It's finding out, what kind of endurance do you have? What kind of faith do you have? Do you step up one more time? Do you step up one more time? Or do you give over to, oh, what the hell, it's not going to work, or God doesn't really care about me, or I'm just getting payback for what I did, and
I
that
don't
Roman
even know
life.
what I did to create it, but maybe
I think that's a blessing,
okay.
By the way.
Yeah.
I really think forgetfulness is one of the ways that we work it out here. That there's a tremendous amount of forgetfulness. If you consider you've had thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lifetimes. And it's like, what the truth of that is you could have a memory of all of that. And would that really be in your favor?
No.
Then so what can I do? Well, let's call it, you bring forward the good of your life and your existence. You bring that forward so it translates into your wisdom, your innate wisdom, your innate goodness that is brighter than ever. that you're standing there, not giving over to the negative point of view that tests you. And one of the things that goes on in this movement is the more close you get in your awareness and your consciousness, your fulfillment as a soul, then the maximum of what the negative power can do comes to you. Now, you take a look at this story about Jesus or anybody else who stood in at that level of God, and they were tested. They're tested royally. And also, we were told, don't think you're going to be exempt. That whatever they did to me, they can do to you. So that's like saying, well, if I'm going to be playing at the level of the anointed one, if I'm going to take on that christening, then I will be tested at the level that all the saints have been tested. However, ask for grace.
I do, and and I had a kind of vision, or I don't know, just inside. Like you are saying, what do you want? I do want sight, and if like what I was experiencing inside, you are claim it, and the whole line of travelers through the ages were kind of lined up behind you in that. I don't know whether it was my fantasy, but it didn't feel
that's
like
in a way
fantasy.
telling you the company you're in and is with. And to me, authority, wavering for some reason. I don't know if you're hearing that. Is it wavering for you? Okay. So that's for the sound people like Roger Wakefield and Phil Danza. It's warbling a bit up here, or at least for some of us. And to me, those are often signs that maybe in a day, 24 hours, there it is, maybe 1 seconds to get it right. And the other 23 hours, 59 minutes and 58.5 seconds, you're challenged. I have to get through an entire day with just a glimpse of the goodness of my life. Yeah, but that one glimpse. And consider if you get one of those glimpses in your lifetime, it can sustain you.
No, I had many.
Okay. Yeah. And then I open this up to every one of us here to remember that you have had a moment to see the power, the glory of your own consciousness and the consciousness of all the creation, to see that it is all good, entirely good.
Yes.
And there is no moment when that is not true.
That I didn't question, the loving of God. And just like, yes, God is loving.
Okay, so there's something else here, and maybe I think somebody was prompting, here we go, that we send you light, that we ask in God's mercy that we are those who have mercy. That we're not those who say, well, that's Zelma's karma, so too bad for her, she deserves it. That's not where we're playing. We're playing at a level of, okay, Lord, if we can lift this, that if it would serve what she needs for whatever is her learning here and her growing, that if it's no longer necessary, that we would lift it, because the karma comes in an exactness, in measure. So if you've created this for yourself, then it's karmic. And we're still asking, we're still blessing and doing that moment. And if you want to do it in your way or in other ways, my experience is it works. And by the way, we have an MSIA light and prayer list. Maybe that's the thing. If you got onto that by being here today, you're just coming into this MSIA and all. So there's a way I think you can do it online. I just like to call Marjorie. or send her an email. That's my way. But in any case, I have lots of experiences personally and lots of other people's experiences personally that there's something about that action. You go, you're a traveler, why would you? It works. So I'm using all the tools. I'm using your light, and I know you pray and you seed, and I'm telling you it works. I appreciate it. I'm glad. I celebrate. Do I have a measure for it? Do I have something that comes back to you that delivers in kind? I hope so. I would want that. But I also want the freedom that we don't need to have it measured. Well, I did a prayer for you. Now you need to do a prayer for me. That we're a group that doesn't count like that. That we give without measure and we receive without measure. And that's the increase.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
God bless you. Yes, yeah, I had time. You want to change a microphone? Okay.
Just for jokes, we could change it?
Yeah. So this is how we check. Yellow mic? Yeah, see? I'm flexible. How things are working. Let's see if this, that's working too, right? Okay. Thank you, Phil. Let's see. I'm going to flip a coin here. Okay, Richard. Richard on the aisle there.
Thank you, John. I'm Richard. What I want to do is commit to the traveler in a greater way. I'm not exactly sure how to do it other than to declare it. And I've got a sense that there's been times in other existences
Have
where...
you heard about the traveler's hazing?
No.
Oh. Well, it takes place after midnight, and... okay. I'm making that up, but maybe there's something coming in, that there's some information.
Sure.
But let's just say that the commitment you're referring to is into a consciousness that's a consciousness of God and divine, and so regardless of what we call it. And so you say, some people find just that name, mystical traveler or mystical traveler consciousness, well, that's mysterious, and what's that about? And I would direct you primarily is to, delve into the information that John Roger has shared, that it came from John Roger, but he's let us know that there were beings that introduced him. And when I was saying, are they human beings? Well, the ones I'm looking at are not, in the present, human beings. So then there's that part of it that we're playing on a higher level. So when you say I'm committing more to the mystical traveler, you're actually saying, well, my commitment's not of this world, just to make it practical. But neither is your home, neither is your origin, neither is your destiny of this world, except as a transition or a period that serves its purpose. And maybe that period is, I'll draw this one. That's a period. Anybody not able to see the period? Yeah, Phil, see, because I expect that it's relative, like to our awareness, to what we're conscious of. And then if we considered this universe, and then relative to this universe, this period is our lifetime. And I'm sure I'm way off, maybe underestimating, the relativity of it. But nonetheless, it's there. So you're here in this world that is relevant. We call it the 10% level. So part of that is that you adjust your 10% level in a dedication, a commitment that has to do with the mystical traveler consciousness, which is something we also call the way shore, has names, and it works directly through the Christ consciousness. So, that's part of it, and I did some of our reference points on that earlier, but there's a lot more if you want the information. I'm saying that for everybody listening, watching. The way it worked in my experience, and this will be, partially, so I'm not trying to explain or tell you about everything, but partially what I can tell you is it's something that works first inwardly as an inner dedication, and it works through prayer, and it works through what do you make important and what do you assign to yourself as dedication and devotion. And I look at the traveler consciousness, its purpose with us is this phrase we use, soul transcendence. And what does it mean? It means our soul is realizing what it is, who it is, such that more and more it's transcending, and we're transcending with us, with what the consciousness is. So our own awakening to the traveler becomes transcendent in our life. What does that look like? Practically, it looks that your life becomes more about the blessings that come from God as they would manifest in this world. So they are things like loving, caring, and sharing, and abundance and prosperity and riches, and a life that is healthy, wealthy, happy. I'm quoting from John Roger, and there's another one touching that he identified as 10 blessings, that if we were focusing on these blessings, then our life is coming more and more into its purpose, and that the traveler consciousness is in you, helping you, assisting you, first as awareness, and also an awareness that has direction. So it has guidance. So that's part of it. And so one of the things that would happen with you, Richard, so I'm being specific, and then anybody else that wants to pick up this dedication, is you exercise the Spirit. And you exercise it first inwardly, and so there is a dynamic process. It's a specific process. It's something that we're called upon to do every day. And I like what I heard out of John Roger. I think it was in the last 24 hours, but it may have been in a recording, so then it becomes, I think it was, now that I'm saying it. But, we can condition, so he was basically taking a negative, maybe somebody has the reference point, and then making that about expansion and making it about growth. I'm getting some nodding heads. But that's the idea, is that you use everything for upliftment. So there's part of the commitment, that you don't allow yourself to sulk. Now that word just came out, and I go, oh, that's like personal. Like that's a word that Richard relates to. Am I right? Okay. Yes. Not that I don't relate to it, or you don't, but it's like, yeah, but I think you're talking about depressed or mope. I go, my word is mope. Okay, fine. Like how you spell it out for yourself. Like what do you do when you're down or out? And then what is that reality? It's like, that's just how you're thinking. You're doing poor thinking. Stop. And, I love this definition that John Roger gave us about peace being the cessation of againstness. So when the quality that is peace for all, peace on earth, peace for Richard in his life comes upon us, the againstness stops. And the more you're willing to do that in your life, particularly inwardly, like stop the depression, stop the anger, stop whatever it is that is the negativity, and turn it. And there is a neutral place to go. It's called acceptance. So if you go, well, if I stop the againstness, where do I go? What do I do? What do I focus on? We'll just start on letting things be what they are, that there's no thing to do right now. You can just let it be, that you're okay with it. I heard J.R. from a long seminar ago, meaning decades ago, where he was talking about the book, I'm Okay, You're Okay. And I read that book. So, and that was basically, even if you didn't read it, you just heard what the book's about. So, okay, so if you get that, like we're all okay, everything's okay, that message is going up. So it allows you to go up and rise up into the higher spiritual realms and awareness. See, what happens is we consciously get caught in negativity. And then we're missing out because our mind, our emotion, is basically stuck in some negative, turning, it's like I'm moving, but I'm just moving from in an emotional field. I'm really angry and I'm throwing things, or I'm putting out epithets. Is that? Epithets? Okay. I won't look it up, but there's another word for today. Or curses, or these kinds of things. That you stop this, you come into a turning point that is acceptance, is letting God be God. And so rather than the first vote towards God's creation is, I don't like this, or stop, you better do something different, or I'm mad at you. Some version of that if we're in disagreement, we're in disagreement with our Creator and with ourselves at the same time, because we're taking a position of disagreement and conflict. So we need to call off the war, call off the conflict, and have a truce. And so even if you send somebody with a white flag, toward whatever's going on in your life, like, can we have a truce? Can we have a moment of peace here? And sometimes it feels like, well, they shot the messenger. The messenger was carrying a white flag, and they said, they shot him. Why did you shoot him? Well, to pay you back for this guy you shot over here. It's like, but we had rules that if someone rode towards you in a white flag, it's like, well, we were too upset. We forgot about that rule. We just shot him because we were upset about who you shot. And that's often how this world plays out, in vengeance and upset and disturbance. Meanwhile, if we want to go into higher consciousness, if we want to witness what the mystical traveler sees and understands, then we need to put down the swords, put down the issues, put down the depression, sacrifice it. And there's another turning point called cooperation. And I heard it earlier, how can I get with what God's will is? How can I participate with God's intention for me? Like, what am I to do with my life? And often that's how it comes out of me. Like, what would you have me do? I'm open, I'm looking. And part of my understanding of that is wait. That sometimes the reality is, I don't know. So if someone asks me, what are you going to do today? I don't know. Well, what's wrong with you? Don't you have a plan? And say, well, my plan, it's not real. It's not holding up. That's the truth. I had a plan, but I don't want to do it. My heart's not in that. My heart's telling me to hold on. And that takes courage at times, to change your mind when other people are upset by it. And then they run, but you said, and I have it here in writing, and it's on your Twitter file, and it's like, okay. And really it is, regardless of that, I'm a living being, I'm here, I'm now, and I'm telling you what it is now, I'm updating you. My truth is this. And even if it comes with a price, well, then you're no friend of mine. or you're fired, or I'm out of here, I don't want to be with you, if you're going to change your mind like that. And then you get to find out, are you willing to play at that level of a living truth? That it doesn't mean you're popular, that you're following what God is directing you to do. And my own personal view about that is it's often a measure. Like, what are you going to make important? Serving what's in the world, or serving what you're called to do in here? And then, people run, well, so you think you're talking to God now? Like, you're listening to the voice of God? And then I'm looking at your life for all these examples of what greatness you're doing. I'm not seeing it. So why would I think, now you're mad on top of it. You need a psychiatrist. That's what you really need, because you think you're listening to God. And that explains the lousy life you've been leading. Maybe this sounds familiar. And I think in one way or another, we all have an opportunity to be God's fool. Like, to be at that level of how we're regarded and understand, I'll be anything just to be God's anything. So if I have to be a fool, okay. And that to me is the level that the mystical traveler plays. Anything goes with God. Yeah. And God loves itself. So that means if the world hates you, don't worry. Be patient. There's a triumph. There's something coming. You're not abandoned. You're not forsaken. That's something attributed to Jesus. Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? And you say, well, wasn't this guy already anointed? And maybe anointed like no other ever in the flesh? And is that real? Did that really happen? And it's like, well, flesh and blood, ordinariness, I'm willing to make room for it. That even the highest consciousness amongst us would have a moment of weakness, or a moment of questioning or doubting, or turning in some way. But what's more important is, where did it end up? That's the part of the story to me that it gives us an opportunity to consider, are we in that? Are you in that? And there's a lot of mystery on it. I find that's on purpose, so that I'm not answering your question. And maybe not even coming close to answering your question. And that just means, well, then the answer's in you, but there's a reason why you're asking it. But be careful what you ask for. So when you ask to play at the level of the mystical traveler, to play at the highest level, whatever that commitment would bring upon you. In my view, is the game's on. But it's a great game. In a way, I don't know another game. But I really translate what you're talking about into this thing we call soul transcendence. That's what you're really saying. I want to be one with my consciousness of the beloved, with the nature of myself as God. That there's an individualized aspect of that. And then there's an aspect of that is a reunion with God. It's something where I would surrender into God, knowing I'm giving all that I am, all that I've created, all the good, and offering it up. And in the human form, the beauty of it is it's often offering up the other stuff. That's part of the test. Are you willing to come to the altar with your stuff? Hobbling, bleeding, rap sheet, all of it. Are you willing to show up at that place of the Holy of Holies and present yourself? Good, and put yourself on the scale to be measured. Am I worthy? Am I ready? And I look at that's the game we're doing. We're in the path of the saints, in the path of the beloved, of the beloved, that we're walking into this, and it's regardless of your history, that we're all called upon to have amnesia, just to forget about it and to work with what you are in the ways that God would do it as you, to take that on. That it more and more it becomes a life that doesn't belong to you. It's a life that belongs to God, but then God says, well, I'm going to do it as you. And it seems like, well, this crazy thing goes on all the time. Well, I give up, and then you give it back, and I give up, and you give it back. And at some point, it's like, what's the difference? There is none. Beirish Beshan.
Thank you, John. Brilliant.
Wait and let John leave and have his space. And I'll just make an announcement that last night at the dinner, someone left a jacket, and it's hanging on the stairway there. So if that looks familiar to anyone, you can pick up your jacket. Are there any more calendars back there? Yeah, there are calendars that you can pick up there. And there they are, right in that corner. And in this corner, if you want a ride to Living in Grace or you have a ride to offer, meet here so that you can connect. Oh, and then these. We are, they're really nice, and they can be used again. And so, hand them in to people at the door. Great, great. So, I want to thank all of you for being here, and thank John, thank everybody involved. And God bless you, and Merry Christmas. And Happy Hanukkah.
I keep following those yellow lines. Lately I see yellow all the time. When it's night, the roads are black. I'll be driving my Cadillac, just following those yellow lines. 1 a.m. Getting time to fly. No need to question, no need to wonder why. Just grab those keys and shut the door. No time for worry no more. Just go grab yourself some yellow line. And I keep following yellow line. Lately I see yellow all the time. When it's night, the roads are black. I'll be driving my Cadillac and just following those yellow lines. 3 a.m. It's starting to get good. I drank that cup of Joe, I knew I would. I watch the lines as they go on. The city lights are all long gone, and I move along those yellow lines. yellow line on the road, yellow line, here we go, yellow line, driving slow. 6 a.m., the sun it starts to rise. I haven't slept a wink or closed my eyes, but I'm just fine, just watching lights, hearing songs of better times, and just following those yellow lines. And I keep following those yellow lines. Lately I see yellow all the time. When it's night, the roads are black. I'll be driving my Cadillac and just following those yellow lines. Just following those yellow lines.
Alright, let's get started. Try this first. Now this. To here. And now. That's good. Okay, with the guitar. Here we go now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Don't let the world get you down. Even when there's troubles all around. I know it can be hard, but I'll help you find a way to have some love and joy every day. I've been around a few years now, and I must confess I never thought that to have some joy be such a test. But I keep on trying every single day. And I pray. Don't let the world get you down. Even when there's troubles all around. I know it can be hard, but I'll help you find a way to have some love and joy every day.